This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network. Well, greetings everyone. It is Christopher McClellan from the Whole Care Network, and this is one of my most favorite things to do is we're welcoming a new podcast to the network called Time to Care, the Caregivers podcast. And Isabel, full disclosure, I don't want to mispronounce your last name, so I'm going to have you introduce yourself to all your new listeners that are coming to you via the Whole Care Network. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Christopher. I really appreciate it. My name is Isabel Melgarejo. It's okay if you mispronounce it.
Well, I'm very sensitive, because my last name's is kind of hard too, and I'm very respectful of pronouncing names. But this is really an exciting day for you. You're starting a new podcast. So tell all of our listeners on the Whole Care Network and your new listeners about your podcast.
Well, I'm really excited about this because I became a caregiver when I was 20 and my dad passed away. My mom fell into a really bad depression mode, and that's when I jumped in and I started helping her. And one of the things that I noticed, and I've noticed throughout almost 17 years now, is that being there for me first and putting me and my needs first have actually helped me a lot throughout this journey. And I just want to share with everybody that you can take care of yourself first. Actually, you should put yourself first. In my recent travels, for all of you listening, I was in Pakistan for a few days and I took a bunch of planes. One of the things that they tell you in the plane, if there's an accident and the cabin loses pressure, put your oxygen mask first, and then tend for children or people that need it. That should be our motto as well as caregivers. We put ourselves first for our loved ones, that we forget to put ourselves first. And eventually, all the stress and all the burnout gets to us. So I just want to share tips that are practical, that are not going to take a lot of time. I want to guide my audience into being practical, taking action, and being proactive about themselves and how to take care of their loved ones.
Having self-care tips is important for caregivers to continue on their journey, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, how can we take care of somebody else?
Exactly. If we're depressed, if we're tired, we can't do anything.
Yeah, and one of the most important components on the Whole Care Network is having people like yourself come on and share their stories, because it's through story sharing where diversity meets the road to collaborate on a common cause, and our common cause is supporting caregivers. You're going to debut your podcast probably sometime around mid-May, and we'll have all that information available on your landing page on the Whole Care Network and on all your podcast platforms. Give us some hints about what you're going to be talking about.
I base my work in two things. One is planning, and my background is in project management. One of the things that I've noticed is that if you start planning your day ahead, you become more efficient. So a lot of it is talking about how you can plan your self-care and also how to plan for your loved one. And once you have everything planned, you're able to take care of yourself. And I usually once a month do a challenge for myself for self-care. And it's just taking 5 minutes every day for myself. I'm being really conscious about it. So for example, one of the things that I usually do during this time is just high five the mirror and tell myself like how amazing I am, and
I'm going to high five you right now.
that's awesome. So yeah, it's just telling myself like, hey, you're doing a great job with whatever the conditions you're having. So for those of you listening, I recommend doing this. Just high five the mirror and tell yourself you're doing a great job.
Well, and we connect because I always like to say for caregivers to set a daily intention for themselves, even if it's just 5 minutes of me time a day. So, that's why there's no strangers in caregiving. We all, while we may not know each other personally, but we do understand our journey. And I'm so thrilled and excited to have you join the Whole Care Network.
Thank you so much, Christopher. It is an honor to be part of the network.
So be on the lookout for Isabel's inaugural episode and all the information to be available on the Whole Care Network. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time.